with the grades that our neighbors are getting and the validation that we're getting from what we're seeing on our desktop studies, that this has the potential to be a new world-class district.
Hey, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Kareem Rayani. He is the CEO of Falcon Gold. And Kareem, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Steve, I'm doing very well.
Good. So we've got an update now on your Great Burnt Copper project in Newfoundland, one we had talked about before, and we'll sort of get into what the news of the day is. But first, maybe just remind everyone a little bit about that project and the red hot jurisdiction of Newfoundland.
So, this project is tied on to Benton Resources copper discovery. It's in central Newfoundland. You got Newfound Gold, further to the north. But this area is very prolific for copper VMS systems. It's a fairly new discovery for Benton. And what we have is the largest contiguous land package tied on to the northern portion of where they're currently focused on their drilling. Mm-hmm. So our project is basically situated here. They're directly below us, and that trend strike goes right through our vicinity. And we've done a fair amount of work. We've done airborne, we've done mag. Mm-hmm. We're doing further soil sampling. We've got crews there on the ground right now, and all the data that we've acquired basically shows that we have the same magnetic structure as to where they're currently hitting between 2 and 12% copper with some stringers of 13-14% is what Benton recently announced. So this is actually an opportunistic time for Falcon. We're trading near our all-time lows, and we've been basically waiting for permitting and for the road to get completed. So crews are finally mobilized, or basically mobilizing as we speak.
Yeah, and that was the key part of this. Was you were looking to do some more work in the spring, but there was quite high water levels just weather-wise going on there. So now you're planning about 1,100 meters of drilling. Is that sort of what you're looking at?
1,100 meters initially, and we're applying for another 2,000 meter permit. We're waiting to get a little bit of data as we start drilling, and then we'll file that and see what the results look like. I would like to keep on going and do 3 meters on this program, but we may have to take a pause, wait for the assays, then go back in. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, 3,000 meters, I think you're trying to say there. Also, we should mention what area specifically are you looking at? Because you mentioned it's quite a large project, but because of the MAG and the airborne survey, is that giving you sort of an area you want to concentrate on?
Well, it is a fairly large area. I mean, we've identified 11 geophysical anomalies, which are kind of going from south to north or northeast, and we'll be covering off basically that whole trend, from the bottom to the top. So it's a fairly large area, and that way we'll be able to do a lot of shallow holes and then see, what's mineralized and, what kind of comes from that.
Yeah. This is a very interesting time, as I mentioned, within Newfoundland. Are you hearing that as well? Just the amount of work that's going on there after Newfound Gold's discovery?
Things were extremely crazy 2-3 years ago, and everything's kind of come down to a screeching halt. It's a little slow there, but nothing kind of creates frenzy like a new discovery. And I truly believe that this area, with the grades that our neighbors are getting and the validation that we're getting from what we're seeing on our desktop studies, that this has the potential to be a new world-class district. I mean, to get massive sulfides, 8, 9, 10% copper, very difficult. So this could, essentially, create a new frenzy. However, there's really only 2 or 3 players in this camp, and we're the second largest landholder.
There you go. Well, we'll see what the drill bit says for sure. Kareem, thank you so much. Good to see you again, and good luck with the drilling.
Thanks, Steve. Talk to you.
All right. Kareem Rayani, the CEO of Falcon Gold.